The harmattan wind blew across Yumu's village like a restless spirit, carrying dust, whispers, and old secrets. In the early morning light, a thin figure moved along the red road, barefoot, trembling slightly, her wrapper faded from too many washings. Her name was Chinaza, a 17-year-old orphan whose life had been shaped by suffering long before she understood its meaning. Some said she was born unlucky. Others said the ancestors were delaying her blessing for a purpose she could not yet see. But one thing was certain. Chinaza worked harder than any girl her age. She swept compounds, fetched water from the stream, husked maize for neighbors, washed clothes. Anything to earn a few naira and a meal. Yet even in her hardship, there was a quiet dignity about her, like a flower refusing to die during dry season. That morning, as she approached the market square with a basket of washed cassava on her head, she heard two women murmuring. "Have you heard?" one whispered. "The crippled farmer on the outskirts is looking for someone to help him on the farm." The one they call Obinna the Broken, the other asked, eyes wide. "Yes. They say his legs are ruined from an accident in the forest. That man cannot walk more than a few steps without collapsing." The second woman clicked her tongue. "That one is cursed. Even hyenas avoid him." Chinaza walked past them, pretending not to hear, but the words lodged in her heart. Work was work, even if the gods themselves frowned on it. Later that week, after hunger twisted her stomach into knots, she walked to the outskirts of Yumu's where the bush thickened and the trees stood like silent elders guarding forgotten truths. There, she saw the farm, vast, quiet, strangely too neat for someone considered weak and crippled. And then she heard a voice behind her. "You can drop the basket. I won't bite." She turned quickly. A man stood leaning against a wooden crutch. His legs were wrapped in cloth, and though his shirt was worn, he carried himself with a kind of pride that didn't match his reputation. His face was handsome in a rugged way, with sharp eyes that studied everything and revealed nothing. "I am Obinna," he said simply. Chinaza swallowed. "I came to ask for work." He nodded slowly. "People don't come here willingly." She lowered her gaze. "People don't give me work willingly either." A small smile tugged at the corner of his lips. "Then perhaps fate has brought two unwanted people together." That was how it began. A poor orphan girl working for a crippled farmer of the village, avoided like a bad omen. Chinaza fetched water, cooked meals, cleared the compound, and helped with light farm tasks. Obinna worked mostly with his hands, carving sticks, repairing tools, and planting small crops in the little portion he could manage. He struggled sometimes, breathing hard as pain shot through his legs, but he never complained. Days turned into weeks. For the first time in her life, Chinaza felt safe. Not blessed, not lucky, but safe. Obinna listened when she spoke. He never shouted, never raised a hand, never used her poverty to belittle her. And at night, when the moon spilled silver light across the compound, they talked like two souls who had found unexpected shelter in each other. One evening, after sharing roasted yam by the fire, Obinna asked softly, "Chinaza, if a man has nothing but his heart, do you think he can still be worthy of love?" She blinked, startled. Love. Her throat tightened. Love was something she had never allowed herself to imagine. He continued, voice low. "Some wounds are on the body. Others are in the spirit. Some people judge both." Chinaza looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she saw the loneliness tucked beneath his calmness. "I don't know about love," she whispered, "but I know you are a good man." Obinna's eyes softened, but he said nothing more. Word soon spread across Yumu's that the orphan girl now lived with the crippled farmer. Some mocked her, some pitied her, but Chinaza ignored them. Hunger no longer followed her like a shadow, and she worked with dignity. Then, one morning, Obinna said something that froze her blood. "Chinaza, I want to marry you." She gasped so loudly a bird flew from a nearby tree. "Marry me." "Yes," he said, his voice steady. Not as my servant, not as my helper, as my wife. Chinaza's world shook. No one had ever fought for her. No one had ever chosen her. She felt dizzy, overwhelmed, terrified, and touched all at once. Obinna, I am nobody, she stammered. An orphan, a girl with nothing. And I'm a broken man with ruined legs, he replied. Perhaps together, we can be whole. Tears blurred her vision. She did not know if she loved him yet, but she felt safer with him than with anyone else. And sometimes, in a world like theirs, safety was the closest thing to love. Within a few days, a small village wedding was arranged. No fanfare, no music, no crowd, only a local elder, 2 neighbors, and the quiet blessing of a sky heavy with clouds. When the elder tied the traditional cloth around their wrists, Obinna whispered, "No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, trust me." It was a strange thing to say during a wedding, but Chinaza brushed it aside. Their marriage began in peace. Simple meals, quiet laughter, nights on a raffia mat under the sound of crickets. Yet, small oddities began to creep into Chinaza's awareness. Sometimes Obinna disappeared into the forest late at night, returning before dawn with mud on his hands. Sometimes men dressed in traveling cloaks stood near the edge of the farm, watching from a distance before melting into the trees. And sometimes, only sometimes, Obinna spoke with a voice that sounded like authority, like command, like a man used to being obeyed. But she kept silent, because marriage was new, because trust took time, because her heart wanted to believe. Everything changed the night she woke up and found Obinna's crutch missing from beside him. She stepped outside and froze. A figure stood tall, too tall, at the edge of the compound. It was Obinna, standing without his crutch, standing straight, standing on 2 perfectly strong legs. Her breath caught in her chest. Her heart slammed violently. And then Obinna slowly turned and saw her watching him. His eyes widened, not with fear, but with the realization that the truth he had hidden for years had finally been exposed. "Chinaza," he whispered, voice trembling. "I can explain." But before he could take a step toward her, a deep, thunderous voice growled from the shadows. "Your Highness, you should not reveal yourself to her yet." Chinaza gasped. The world spun. Her knees weakened. "Highness." Obinna closed his eyes. The truth she was never meant to discover had arrived too soon. Hey dear, if this story touched your heart, kindly take a moment to subscribe, like, and share to grow this channel. Now back to the story. The night swallowed Chinaza's breath as the word, "Your Highness," echoed through the compound like thunder rolling over distant mountains. For a moment, she could not tell if she was dreaming, dying, or losing her mind. Obinna, Prince? Obinna, the crippled farmer? Obinna, the man who asked her, a nobody, to be his wife? Her legs trembled so violently she gripped the doorway to stay upright. From the shadows emerged a broad-shouldered man dressed in dark hunting leather, a tall spear held lightly in his hand. A scar ran across his left cheek, and his eyes carried the hard alertness of someone trained to protect or kill at a moment's notice. Obinna exhaled sharply, the weight of many secrets pressing against his chest. "Yade," he muttered, jaw tight. "You are not supposed to speak." The warrior bowed his head lightly. "Forgive me, my prince." But the girl saw too much. "My prince." The words hammered into Chinaza's skull again. She stared at Obinna, really stared. The way he stood now, tall and firm, was completely different from the man who had leaned on a crutch for months. His shoulders were broader than she had noticed, his stance stable, his presence quietly commanding. He no longer looked like a broken farmer. He looked like someone born to rule. Chinaza's voice barely escaped her throat. Who are you?" Obinna stepped closer, but the fear in her eyes stopped him like a wall. "Chinaza," he said softly, "my name is truly Obinna, but the identity you know is only half the truth. He straightened, pain flickering across his face, not from injury, but from confession. I am Prince Obinna Nwachukwu, first son of the late King Igwe Nwachukwu of the Oku Kingdom. Her breath vanished. Oku Kingdom, the largest land for miles, wealthy, powerful, feared. A kingdom ruled by proud warriors with ancient bloodlines. That means, Chinaza whispered, voice cracking, you are the heir. Yes, he said quietly. I am the rightful king. Chinaza staggered backward, shaking her head. No, it cannot be. You live like a poor farmer. You live like a cripple. Why would a prince pretend to be broken? Uday, the warrior, stepped forward. Because someone tried to kill him. Chinaza's eyes widened. Obinna nodded grimly. 3 years ago, assassins from within my own family attacked me on a royal journey. They struck my legs with a poison blade. I barely escaped with my life. Chinaza pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. Word spread that I died. Obinna continued. But Uday smuggled me to this village. We hid. We waited. The poison damaged my legs temporarily, but not permanently. After a year, I healed. But we kept the act. Because the enemy who wants my throne still searches for me. The realization crashed over Chinaza like a wave. She had married a hunted man. A man whose very existence could bring war. A man with enemies powerful enough to burn villages. Her knees buckled. Obinna rushed toward her instinctively. Don't touch me, she cried, stepping back. His face tightened with hurt. Chinaza, I never wanted a deck. You lied to me, she shouted, voice shaking. Every day, every night. You lied about who you are, about what you are, and about everything. Her heart cracked with a pain she had never known. She had trusted him. She had married him. She had given him her fragile, broken hope. And he had been living behind a mask. Tears stung Obinna's eyes. I did not lie to hurt you. I hid the truth to stay alive. And when you came into my life, he swallowed hard. I feared losing you more than I feared my enemies. Chinaza's chest heaved as she tried to breathe through the storm inside her. Uday cleared his throat. My prince, the girl is innocent. But her knowing the truth puts her in danger. We must relocate immediately before word spreads. Chinaza looked from one man to the other, her mind spinning. Relocate? Danger? Enemies? No, she whispered. This is too much for me. Obinna's voice lowered. Chinaza, I married you because I love you, not because I needed a disguise. Love, she repeated bitterly. What do you know about my life? About what it means to survive day by day? You had a choice. I never did. He winced, as though the words were a blade. Before he could respond, distant drums thundered from the forest, slow, deep, ominous. Uday's expression changed instantly. They found him. Obinna stiffened. It is too soon. Chinaza froze. Found him. Uday gripped his spear. The enemies who seek the throne. The traitors have entered the forest. A chilling wind swept through the compound. Obinna moved toward Chinaza urgently. We must leave now. You're my wife. I will protect you. She shook her head, backing away again. I don't know who you are, Obinna. I don't know what I married. Chinaza. But then a loud boom echoed from the trees, like a calabash breaking against stone. Red smoke spiraled into the night sky. Uday hissed sharply. It is a signal. They are announcing their approach. Chinaza's heart pounded against her ribs. How do they know you are here? She whispered. Uday looked at her slowly. Obinna followed the warrior's gaze, and his face drained of color. They were both staring at something behind Chinaza. Footsteps. Soft. Hesitant. Approaching the compound. Chinaza turned and gasped. A familiar figure stepped into the moonlight. Ijeoma, the girl from her childhood. Her neighbor. Her only friend when she had none. Ijeoma's wrapper was torn, her hair wild, her eyes filled with guilt and something darker. Fear? Regret? Ijeoma. Chinaza whispered. What are you doing here this hour? Ijeoma's lips trembled. Chinaza. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they planned. I just told them the rumor. What rumor? Obinna demanded sharply. Tears spilled down Igioma's cheeks. That the cripple is not really crippled. That he sometimes stands at night. I thought it was nothing. I didn't know they would come for him. The ground fell away beneath Chinaza. Her best friend had exposed her husband, not out of wickedness, but out of gossip, out of carelessness. Yude tightened his grip on his spear. The assassins must be close. Obinna moved protectively in front of Chinaza, his voice dark with urgency. Listen to me, both of you. No matter what happens tonight, stay behind me. Chinaza's breathing quickened. Obinna, what will happen? He looked into her eyes, pain and determination intertwined. The night my father died, he whispered, a prophecy was spoken, that the one I love will either save my life or end it. What does that mean? She asked, voice trembling. But Obinna didn't answer. The forest suddenly erupted with the sound of snapping branches. Torches appeared between the trees. Dark silhouettes moved closer. Armed men. Many. A voice boomed from the shadows. Prince Obinna, come out and die like the king you were meant to be. Chinaza's scream lodged in her throat. Obinna stepped forward, jaw hardening, preparing to face his fate. Then, from the darkness, a single arrow shot toward him with deadly speed, aimed straight at his heart. Chinaza gasped. Igioma shrieked, and Obinna froze. He could not move fast enough. But someone else did. A figure leapt in front of him. A body collided with the arrow. A cry tore through the night, and Chinaza watched in horror as the person who took the arrow collapsed to the ground, bleeding, motionless. When she saw who it was, her soul shattered. No, no. Her voice echoed through the forest, because lying on the earth was someone she never imagined would sacrifice themselves for a prince. Someone whose life had just paid the price for a secret she never asked for. Chinaza dropped to her knees, so fast the earth bruised her skin. Her trembling hands hovered helplessly over the body that had taken the arrow meant for Obinna. Igioma, she whispered, voice cracking like dry firewood. Her childhood friend lay gasping, the arrow lodged deep in her ribs. Blood soaked the dusty ground, dark and thick. Igioma's eyes fluttered, filled with pain and apology. I'm sorry. Naza, she choked. I didn't mean for any of this. Tears blurred Chinaza's vision. Don't talk. Please, please don't talk. Obinna knelt beside them, horror tightening his face. Yude, he shouted desperately. Fetch herbs, water, cloth, anything. But Yude stood rigid, spear raised. My prince, look around you. Obinna turned. The forest glowed with torches. Men surrounded the compound in a tightening circle. Warriors dressed in black and red, their faces masked, weapons drawn. At their front stood a man with sharp features, a cruel smile, and eyes that held the coldness of a snake. Obinna's body stiffened. Kenichukwu. Chinaza felt the name slither through the air like poison. Kenichukwu sneered. Still alive, cousin? I must commend you. You hide better than a wounded leopard. Chinaza's heart skipped. Cousin. So the traitor was family. Kenichukwu continued, pacing like a predator. When your father died, the elders whispered that you would sit on the throne, that you had the heart of a true king. But I was born for power. Yet they wanted you. His voice twisted with bitterness. So I did what destiny demanded. I erased you. Chinaza trembled violently. This man planned murder, as if discussing a market quarrel. Obinna stood tall, fury tightening every muscle. You killed your own uncle, and now you threaten my wife, an innocent girl who never asked for this. Kenichukwu laughed. Innocent? She knows your secret. That makes her dangerous. He raised his hand. Kill them all. Chinaza's breath hitched. The warriors advanced. But suddenly Yude slammed his spear into the ground. Over my dead body. With a battle cry, he leapt into the fray, blocking the attacker's path. Chaos exploded. Spears clashed. Metal screamed. Bodies lunged in a blur of fury. Chinaza clutched Igioma's hand as the battle raged around them. Dust filled the air. Men shouted. A torch fell, catching a dry bush ablaze. Through it all, Kinichukwu stood calm, watching like a god observing destruction he created. Obinna moved protectively in front of Chinaza. "Stay down," he yelled. But Kinichukwu snapped his fingers. Two warriors broke through the fight, charging straight toward Chinaza. Obinna grabbed a fallen blade despite having no weapon moments ago. With a powerful swing, he struck one attacker to the ground. The second lunged, and Chinaza screamed as Obinna blocked the spear with his forearm, blood spraying. But he didn't stop. With a roar, he drove his blade forward, forcing the attacker back. The firelight danced across him. No longer a farmer, no longer a cripple, but a king filled with righteous fury. Yet as fierce as he fought, they were outnumbered, and Kinichukwu knew it. He smirked, lifting a bow. Royalty dies tonight. Chinaza's blood turned cold. The arrow pointed straight at Obinna. She moved without thinking. "No," Obinna shouted, but she had already leapt. Chinaza threw herself toward him. At that exact second, Uday screamed, "Chinaza, get down." Three things happened almost at once. Kinichukwu released the arrow. Chinaza's body collided with Obinna, knocking him sideways. A blinding light flashed across the sky. The arrow missed Obinna's heart, but sliced across Chinaza's shoulder, ripping flesh. Pain tore through her body, and she collapsed with a cry. The world spun. But something else happened next that stunned everyone. Thunder rumbled from a cloudless sky. Wind surged violently, extinguishing half the torches. The ground shook. A deep voice, ancient, echoing, almost like it was rising from the earth itself, rolled through the air. Enough. Everyone froze. Chinaza blinked through the haze of pain and saw something impossible. A tall, shimmering figure stood between the trees. An old man with white hair braided like roots, wearing the clothing of ancient kings. His staff glowed with blue fire. Obinna gasped. "Grandfather." The spirit turned slowly. It was the late king, Igwinwachukwu. Even Kinichukwu staggered back, trembling. The spirit raised his staff, and his voice deepened. "Blood has cried in the night. Innocence has suffered, and destiny has come to collect its dead." The warriors dropped their weapons, terrified. Igwi's gaze fell on Kinichukwu. "You betrayed family. You spilled blood for greed. You tried to destroy a king the ancestors blessed. Your reward is judgment." Kinichukwu shook with fear. "No, please." But the spirit struck the ground with his staff. A burst of wind knocked Kinichukwu off his feet. His body slammed against a tree, and he collapsed, unconscious, defeated, stripped of power. The warriors fled into the forest. Silence fell like a heavy cloth. Obinna rushed to Chinaza, lifting her head gently. "Chinaza, stay with me. Please." Her eyelids fluttered. "Obinna, I didn't mean to. I didn't want you to die." He pressed his forehead to hers. "You saved my life." Uday staggered over, wounded but alive. "My prince, the prophecy, the one spoken at your birth." Obinna nodded slowly. "The one that said the woman I love will either save me or destroy me." Tears slipped down his cheeks. "She saved me." The spirit of the king stepped forward, his voice softer now. "Chinaza, daughter of no one, you have shown a heart nobler than any crown. The ancestors see you." She blinked weakly. "But I am nothing." "No," the spirit said. "You were chosen, not by men, but by destiny." He turned to Obinna. "Rise, my son. Take your place. Your kingdom waits." Obinna held Chinaza tightly. "I will not leave my wife." "You will not need to," the spirit replied, "for she will sit beside you." Light wrapped around the king's spirit, and as he faded, his final words whispered through the air like a blessing. "A good woman is the true throne of a king. The forest fell, completely silent. Chinaza's tears dripped onto Obinna's hand. Will your people accept me? A poor orphan. Obinna kissed her forehead gently. My queen will never be measured by her past, but by her heart. Udea's voice cracked as he knelt. All hail, Queen Chinaza. Her vision blurred, not from pain now, but from disbelief. A girl who once swept compound for food, a girl who had nothing, a girl forgotten by the world, was now the wife of a king. And as Obinna carried her toward the dawn, she whispered a trembling proverb. When the gods lift you, even your scars become crowns. In this world, destiny often hides in rags. Love is tested by truth, and wickedness, no matter how long it dances, must face its drumbeat. May the heart that stays humble rise, and the hand that harms others fall. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who loves good stories. Let the fire of storytelling continue to burn.